You're just in time. As we mentioned, this is in the headlines. Now let's bring you to speed. President William Ruto dropped Justin Muturi from the cabinet following months of tension between the former Attorney General and the head of state. Muturi's sacking came hours after the president accused him of incompetence during his tenure at the State Law Office. In changes announced by State House on Wednesday, Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Rocco will replace Muturi as a CS for Public Service and Human Capital Development.
I had a problem with the AG who was there. He was fairly incompetent, but I now have a very competent lady.
This remark by President William Ruto on Tuesday night appeared to be the last nail that sealed Muturi's fate. On Wednesday, the president relieved Muturi of his duties, ending months of a frosty political relationship. Muturi will be replaced by one of his own in the party, outspoken Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Rocco.
Mimi niko hapa area nasunguka hiyo Nairobi siendi huku tukipangana na hii wananchi wa Mbeere North tukingojea rais hamu na gamu. We will welcome him kama shujaa wa taifa letu ya Kenya.
The changes announced on Wednesday have also seen Environment and Forestry Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale get a new posting for the third time in less than 2 years. Duale will swap positions with Dr. Deborah Barasa. The Gender, Culture, Arts and Heritage docket that has been vacant since the name of Stella Soy Langat was rejected by Parliament after vetting will have a new holder, the widow of President Ruto's ally and immediate former Baringo Senator, the late William Cheptumo. The Appointments Committee, chaired by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, is expected to begin vetting Ruku and Hannah Wendot Cheptumo once the names have been formally submitted in Parliament.
We'll be definitely following what happens at the floor of the House in regard to that, as well as the other changes that are yet to find their way to the National Assembly there for debate. Remember, we had a reshuffle also that affected various positions in as far as PSs are concerned. We are yet to have that debate come into the floor of the House. We'll be there to keep tabs on that. At the same time, President William Ruto has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to equitable development, saying no region will be left behind. He was speaking at State House, Nairobi, when the president met leaders from Western Kenya to assess progress on key projects ranging from agriculture and infrastructure to healthcare, as well as water access. The high-level meeting comes months after his extensive development tour of the region. Ben Chumba with the details.
As people's representatives and areas that you need to focus so that we can use the infrastructure of government to drive the development of our country.
That commitment was the focus of today's meeting at State House, Nairobi, where President William Ruto engaged governors and top government officials from Western Kenya.
Over the last couple of months, we have brought different teams together. And because we have brought different teams together under the broad-based arrangement, we are making steady progress in the right direction.
The discussion centered on strengthening agricultural value chains, particularly increasing fertilizer uptake to boost food production and reviving the struggling sugar and coffee industries. Beyond agriculture, leaders also addressed urgent infrastructure needs, including expanding road networks, improving power connections, and fast-tracking the construction of fresh produce markets. Access to clean water and universal health coverage were also top on the agenda. This meeting follows the president's recent tour of Western Kenya, during which he launched several projects, including the disbursement of 150 million in dividends to Mumias sugar farmers. In attendance were all Western Kenya governors Fernandez Baraza of Kakamega, Paul Otuom of Busia, Wilbur Otichilo of Vihiga, and Ken Lusaka of Bungoma, alongside Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula. Also present were key Cabinet Secretaries including Wycliffe Oparanya of Cooperatives and Deborah Barasa of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry.
Ningependa kuwashukuru kwa sababu ya vile tumeshirikiana.
Well, we'll be keeping tabs on that too, given the political matrix now with that recent cabinet reshuffle. Now, the committee for the release of Stephen Bertrand Munyako, the Kenyan who was sentenced to execution in Saudi Arabia, says that it is yet to receive official communication on the alleged payment of the 129 million shillings fine for his release. The statement comes hours after the United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Hassan Omar said the Muslim League had made the payment and that the request for the release of Munyako had been honored.
Tuesday night at State House, Nairobi, during the iftar dinner hosted by President William Ruto, the United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Hassan Omar said that the balance required for the release of Stephen Munyako had been cleared and that all was set for his release.
The ambassador of Saudi Arabia to Kenya, Ambassador Khalid, and our ambassador in Saudi Arabia have confirmed that that request has since been honored. The $1 million has been paid and the Kenyan will return home safe, but also to warn Kenyans, wherever you are, to respect the laws of the territories that you live in, be it in Vietnam, be it in Malaysia, be it in South Africa, be it in Saudi Arabia. The government can intervene, but the government has its limitation. Ukiamua uende kwa territory ya mtu, heshimu sheria ya mtu.
However, hours later, in a statement, the Committee for the Release of Munyako through its chairman Joe Odindo said it is yet to receive any official communication. The committee added that it had contacted government officials in Kenya and Saudi Arabia and will notify the public of the latest developments. Munyako, the eldest son of veteran journalist Dorothy Kweyu, was convicted of manslaughter in 2012 following an altercation with a friend. The victim's family appealed, resulting in an enhanced sentence of execution with an option for 3.5 million riyals in blood money. He has been incarcerated for the past 13 years, and as of Tuesday, he was still being held in Durban prison in Jeddah.
Wow. Take home. Learn the laws and rules of where you are and try and abide by them. Some things you can't avoid, while others, if you can avoid, please do. Now, a candidate for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC chairperson's position, Robert Akumu Asembo, was hard-pressed to explain a warrant of arrest issued against him in a fraud case. Akumu, who is a former Football Kenya Federation official, was convicted in January this year for contravening Section 313 of the Penal Code. As Abdiaziz Hashim reports, the panel also assessed the suitability of Lilian Wanjiko and Saul Simiu Wasilwa as they conducted their interviews for the chairperson position that concluded yesterday. Here's a recap.
The last day for the interviews for the chairperson position of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC came to an end on Wednesday afternoon.
Are you aware of any warrant of arrest that has been issued by the Kibera locals?
I'm not aware.
The session saw former Football Kenya Federation official Robert Akumu Asembo at pains to explain a warrant of arrest issued against him in a fraud case early this year and his impending prison sentence.
The position you are seeking is the position of a chair. And as I'll quote what Adam's law keeps saying, you're supposed to be as mweupe kama pamba. Have you ever been convicted?
I faced a criminal charge, but I am exploring the relevant legally available avenues, especially of appeal, and the matter I think should be sub judice. We had a court session on Monday. It's coming up again, so I believe we should leave it as sub judice.
So have you been convicted or not convicted on a criminal matter?
It is challengeable, Chair. The conviction is challengeable.
The panel questioned the integrity of Asembo.
Honorable Ferdinand Waititu is convicted. True or false?
Yes.
Has he put an appeal?
I have not followed up, but yes. I think he's in jail.
So you have put an appeal?
Yes.
5 open cases. against you for different disciplinary issues as an advocate of the High Court, 2 of which have been settled. Are you aware? Yes or no, Counsel?
I'm not aware.
Lillian Wanjiku, a lawyer who also appeared before the panel, said if appointed to lead the poll body, she will institute penalties against commissioners who dissent and abandon their post, as has been witnessed in the past.
One of the biggest challenges we have is that commissioners run away from Kenyans at their time of need. That is what we have been experiencing as the people of Kenya. So that is likely to be a charity even in the next general election.
My name is Saul Simiyu Wasilwa.
Simiyu assured the electorate that the digital system of IBC will be strengthened to authenticate, authorize and account for to avoid cases of possible manipulation of results.
Because usually you would find disagreements, and disagreeing is normal. Maybe going out there to vilify each other is where the problem could be.
The interviews for the 6 vacant commissioners' position will begin tomorrow and run until Thursday, April 24th, 2025.
And today we will have the panel embark on that, interview, now looking or rather seeking to replace commissioners to the IBC. We'll be keeping tabs on that. We even have a live crew that is already on ground to bring us those interviews. Remember, it is of public interest that we know who is going to be taking up these particular positions when we are just roughly under 3 years to the next general election. Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has attributed the latest wave of banditry attacks in the northern part of the country to the conflicts on administrative boundaries. Speaking in Loruk, Baringo County, where he met top security officers, Murkomen took issue with some politicians he accused of inciting the conflict. He spoke as tension remains high following a banditry attack that happened Tuesday evening in Sibilo, a location within the Loruk area.
With the rising cases of banditry and terrorism attacks being reported again after months of relative calm in the northern part of the country, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen was in Loruk area of Baringo County for a meeting with top security chiefs in the area.
I want to say this without fear of contradiction, that we are not going to cede any part of this republic to any criminal.
The Cabinet Secretary stated that the latest wave of banditry attacks in the northern part of the country emanates from the conflicts on administrative boundaries in Baringo North, Baringo South, Samburu, Laikipia, Isiolo and Turkana counties.
We realized that there was an upsurge of banditry issues in Samburu County, and it was taking a very complex direction, especially because of the proximity to Isiolo County, proximity to Laikipia North, proximity to Meru.
He also put on notice some politicians he accused of incitement in the area.
I know that the political fever is now rising, and because politicians, especially those who are aspiring for different positions, are feeling the heat of politics, they think that it is easier to incite people to violence. We are going to deal with everybody equally because they are all equal before the law.
The latest banditry attack in the area happened on Tuesday evening at a Korean village in Sibilo location, where 40 goats were stolen with security officers managing to recover 38 of them.
To the corridors of justice, Ferdinand Waitito will remain in prison until the 23rd of April when the High Court will consider his second attempt to be released on bond as he pursues an appeal against his 12-year jail sentence. His first attempt hit a snag on the 3rd of March after Justice Lucy Njuguna dismissed his application pending the hearing and determination of his appeal.
Former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waitito, who was on 13 February this year sentenced to serve 12 years in prison or pay 53 million shilling fine for graft, was once again trying his luck to be set free.
Then, depending on the outcome of the case, we can actually allow.
Through his legal team, Waitito argued that he should be released on bail to allow him adequately prepare his appeal, which he said had a high chance of success.
Our applications for bail will be heard in the shortest time possible, after we are done with the few issues of technicalities. But since the judge has fast-tracked the issue, the best we can do at this moment is just wait for those days.
What the court directed is that we first and foremost deal with the issue of the amendment of the petition of appeal, and a ruling has been slated for the 23rd of April, and thereafter the court will give directions as to the hearing of the bond pending appeal.
3 days to file our written submissions with regards to that application.
However, the prosecution opposed the application, asserting that he has already been convicted and should remain in custody until the appeal is determined.
From here, we'll be seeking if you could give us a leave to file our submissions, our written submissions to this application of the 18th. And we need to know how we are addressing it, because it's the same prayer. Prayer 2 of the 14th is prayer 3 of the 18th. So are they abandoning that application, that prayer altogether, or are they only abandoning it in the application of the 14th?
The former governor was sentenced to 12 years in jail or a 53 million shilling fine after his conviction for irregularly awarding a tender for road constructions in Kiambu County. Jailed former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu is fighting for his freedom, seeking bail to challenge his 12-year sentence for graft. The High Court's ruling on April 23, 2025 could lead
scheduled.
Well, sorry for that particular mix-up, but then that is what is happening in as far as embattled former governor there, Ferdinand Waititu, quest for his release stands. The date has been set for April 23rd. Now, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has signed a memorandum of understanding to ensure that even as the memorandum of understanding is actually ongoing with the Institute of Economics and Peace, an international body with expertise in peace and conflict management, that implementation of transgenerational conversations. This happens at town hall sessions. The campaign is aimed to bridge intergenerational divides and empower communities to foster understanding, conflict resolution and social cohesion in Kenya.
Scheduled to kick off in April, the intergenerational town hall meetings will set a platform for the Gen Z to raise their concerns and interact with the older generations for a common understanding. According to the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, the program was informed by the Gen Z protest witnessed on 25th of June 2024 that depicted a clear division amongst generations.
There were protests from different generations, and NCIC came up with a campaign that we dubbed the Transgenerational Conversations. It is within these transgenerational conversations that we sought partners that we can be able to implement this roadmap also, so that we bring different generations to the table.
The NCIC collaboration with the Institute of Economics and Peace also seeks to build trust between the youth and the government.
That's going to help our country with those town hall meetings, and also make sure that people are peaceful and they use our framework in peace building activities across the country and beyond.
The program, to be spread to 17 counties, intends to address the degradation of Kenya's social fabric.
We are renowned for coming up with a concept called a positive peace framework, that we wish to use that framework to help the NCIC to achieve the objectives of the transgenerational conversations, and also capacity build NCIC staff on the same concept of a positive peace framework.
In the end, the Commission aims to achieve political decency and accountability in the country. The town hall meetings will be broadcast live on Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
Now to business, the National Treasury will deploy sustainability-linked bonds and debt swaps to address the growing public debt, which currently stands at 66%. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says Kenya is grappling with mounting debt, with approximately close to 700 billion shillings in outstanding Eurobonds, while 120 billion shillings is scheduled for repayment this year alone. Under the new debt management strategy, Treasury plans to lower debt to GDP ratio to about 55% by 2029.
Public debt has become a concern for policymakers, with debt servicing consuming a large portion of government revenues. The pressure to meet international repayment obligations, particularly with the Eurobond nearing maturity, has intensified calls for urgent debt management reforms. As of June 2024, the stock of public debt was 10 trillion shillings, of which domestic debt was 5.4 trillion.
Do we really need to go to IMF, World Bank, to wait for executive decision of Trump? We will not. But what if now we decide we want to be satisfied with what we have? We are stealing zero. All of us as a country, we are not stealing anything. And then we save this 2 billion per day. We will save over 700. In fact, our total deficit will be covered by our own taxes, and we will not borrow any money.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi says the government is working on various strategies aimed at restructuring the country's fiscal space without compromising essential public services.
So how then do we solve this problem? The strategy, to me, is very simple. Number one is to consistently demonstrate that you are reducing your budget deficit to GDP ratio over the period to reach the target of at least maximum of 3%.
All eyes shift attention to the National Treasury as the government is exploring new funding instruments to address budget deficits and manage public debt.
Debt currently stands at 66% to GDP. That means that a majority of what is earned by the government, or rather what Kenya makes, is spent to repaying debt and not development. In the budget-making process, we're yet to hear what the government, or how the government intends to raise the proposed about 4-point-something trillion shillings budget for the financial year 2025-2026. Taking us to sports now, the World Athletics Masters 5,000 meters champion Francis Kipkoech Bowen won the second gold for Kenya when he smashed the 3,000 meters world indoor record in the M50 category in the ongoing championship in the United States. Bowen took the lead from the start to stop the clock at 8 minutes and 36 seconds, .23. Now the silver medal went to American Gregory Michel, who timed 9 minutes 7 seconds, with the bronze going to Frenchman Santiago de la Fuente Martin. Earlier, Ibrahim Mokonjo Muya had clinched a silver medal for Kenya in the 60 meters dash on the M40 category, with the gold going to American Antoine Echols. Muya was supposed to participate in today's 200 meters but withdrew due to a tendon injury picked up in the 6M dash. Regina Mulai Mulatia was competing in the women's long jump W45 category, where she was looking forward to a podium finish. So today will be a busy day for Team Kenya, with Millicent Ndoro and Elizabeth Muthoka participating in their specialties.
Kazi kwa sababu kulikuwa na kikundi walikuwa wamekimbia mwanzoni, sasa walikuwa naona time au kulikuwa naenda na saa, na kwa masters hakuna pacemaker. Sasa unapambana peke yako na hali yako, na nafurahia kushiriki tena kwa mchezo huu.
That effectively puts a couple matters in the headlines this morning. Be sure to visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. I leave in the capable hands of my colleague Mike, and also just a sneak peek into how the weather is likely to look like in the next 24 hours. I'm Regina Manyera. Have a pleasant day.